So maybe we've got park employees watching on surveillance cameras, and they see like, okay, this family has, some differently abled people. There's someone in a wheelchair, or there's, grandpa's with him and he's like got a cane. So let's figure out a way for them to get out of this room in a more, easy to walk down. Like they don't have to take a slide, or they don't have to do anything that's too physically demanding. So then when they solve the clue, instead of making that bookcase slide open, the fireplace moves, and then they can walk through the fireplace, and that's a more, like handicap accessible route. So there could be at least 2 routes out of every room. One of them is a little bit more physically challenging, and then the other one is, easier to complete, but you still have to solve the same mystery. The same clue has to be found to trigger either exit, and they just pick the right one for you. Yeah, that could be kind of interesting.
I'm also super fascinated by the idea of... I like the idea of like differently abled people being able to go through it and having like an experience that's exactly the same, but we acquiesce. So like maybe like bracelets.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking too.
So you walk in and like, you have your bracelet and it says like, okay, there's not going to be a lot of like flashing lights in this one.
Yes. That's a good idea.
Sensory sensitive.
Right, and it's not like we don't have, with the technology, it doesn't have to be just the judgment call of that person who's supervising that room via security camera. It can automatically detect, this person has a blue bracelet, so no flashing lights, or this person has, a red bracelet, so no sudden moving and no slides or whatever. But then if everyone has green bracelets, like, okay, we can do whatever we want to these people.
I'm loving the idea of super cheesy effects.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
So like it's like the like really horrible projections.
Yes.
And stuff.
Or just a ghost coming by on an obvious wire. You can hear the motor whirring to like move them across, or that ghost sound effects were coming out of this speaker over here, not out of the ghost. So we know that ghost has to be fake. But then you can have really good sound effects if it's supposed to be like an actual, because Scooby Doo has real monsters once in a while. Like, so you could have really bad effects for when it's supposed to be fake, and you just have to figure out who the human is inside that costume. And then if you get to one,
maybe that's one of the areas.
Yeah, like you mean having the real.
Yeah,
villains?
Like the more like crazy.
Yeah, that could be pretty neat.
You could just do no, because that's swamp, and we already did swamp.
Yeah. Yeah, what have we talked about for the different worlds? We've got the swamp one, the castle,
swamp castle,
amusement,
college,
a college, yeah.
Because then you get like the museums, you get the professor friend.
Yep.
That's a recurring kind of thing.
There's always a professor. Like every episode almost has like some kind of professor character in it.
They're visiting a professor who's like either disappeared or like explains to them what's happening.
Yeah, and a lot of times the bad guy is a professor. Like, what happened in your life where you can't just be a professor anymore? You have to start stealing oil out of old boats. Like, why they always have such weird schemes to make money? Like,
oh, there has to be a boat one.
Yeah, boat
like
one.
Pirate.
The pirate one, or like I think the Harlem Globetrotter one was on a boat, wasn't it? Or they took a boat to. It could be maybe a boat
to an island or something.
A boat with an island, or a boat with like a seaside, like cape kind of thing.
Well, so you could do like an oceanfront community, and then that gives you a seafood eatery. I would recommend Skipper, what's his name?
Yeah.
Skipper Shelton.
Yep.
The noseless guy. I would do the Clam Shack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can get a pirate ship. You can get a sunken ship.
Yep. The wait, what's the guy? Captain Cutter, I want to say the scuba diver guy, that ghost that's like always underwater. That could be pretty spooky.
And he's stealing the ships in like the underwater, the cave grotto.
Yeah, exactly. That episode.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I like the design of that bad guy. It's just a glowing, old-timey scuba guy,
Diver.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Diving bell style suit.
Absolutely. That was a really cool looking character for me. Okay, so this sounds pretty well-rounded, and it represents a vast majority of the places they go on Scooby-Doo. Is there any major ones that we're missing? I'm sure we are, but...
You can kind of futz almost anything from these. Swamp, you have a mansion in the swamp.
Yep. Yeah, it's all versatile.
So that can be either escape room or...
And sometimes there are cave systems, but it seems like there's not like cave-centric episodes. It's there's a secret cave underneath this old mansion. There's a secret cave underneath the seafood restaurant. Like, everything has like a secret cave underneath it. So maybe there's an inner network of caves.
Wait, that's super cool. To get to the escape room in the seaside community, you have to find the entrance in the clam restaurant.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, I think maybe there's just a ring underneath the whole park that is underground spooky cave themed. And
like they say with Disney. Disney has the tunnels, and that's how the characters get from place to place and stuff. But this is functional for the guest.
Right, and it'd be really cool if only 25% of guests ever discover the underground tunnel network. Like, maybe that's kind of a pro level thing. Like, you have to really be good at solving the clues in order to get down there. So that's like your second or third visit. People will say, "Have you been to the underground caves?"
It's like the secret menu at In-N-Out Burger.
Sure, it's a secret menu of sorts, absolutely. Which I love that kind of stuff. When there's like Easter eggs and like things that you might have missed in your favorite movie, it's like, oh, did you know when this star pops up in this movie, hit enter on your remote, and then you get to watch a different clip? It's like, what? How was I supposed to know that? Like, it adds an extra level. Like, that was under my nose this whole time. How cool is that?
I like that you get that there's a baseline of enjoyment,
right?
But if you want to invest yourself into the experience, there's going to be a reward for that. Like Disney, to a certain extent, the only investment you can make that's unique to you subjectively is money.
True. Wow.
Like, you can buy stuff.
Yeah, and you can know the history. Like, I listen to a lot of Disney World podcasts, and so next time I go there, I'll have all these little tidbits and like annoying trivia things I can tell my friends about. But that doesn't really add much to the experience. I'm fascinated just by the whole idea of theme parks and how much potential it has, especially with newer technologies and more like thoughtful design. I don't know. Even if they redesigned Disney, like starting from scratch right now, it would be so much more interesting. Because that thing has evolved and progressed over a long time. If they started from scratch today, they would incorporate so many more secret rooms and like hidden little things everywhere. It would be really fascinating. Yeah.
Like the Haunted Mansion, probably one of my favorite rides.
Yes.
It was opened in 1962?
Something like that.
It's still, I mean, they've added to it, but it's still so relevant, the parts that haven't changed.
Yeah.
Like Paul Frees's narration.
Right.
Or the design of the buggy, the dancing ballroom. Those things aren't necessarily up to spec in a world where we live with Apple Watches and VR.
Yeah.
That weird glass projection of the Haunted Mansion holds up.
Right. These kind of lo-fi illusions are so fascinating and captivating still. Like, people who have been going to those parks their entire lives and going to that same ride are still like, there's always something new to see, and they're not adding anything new. It's like there were so many little Easter eggs and hidden things in there from the beginning that you're still every second you have to be in that ride, you have to keep your eyes open and try to find the new little things. Like, yeah, there's all kinds of different little things to look for, and I love that. It's, I don't know, theme parks in general are already like kind of magical and whimsical, where they really go above and beyond. It's one thing for a movie to have like an Easter egg or like some little secret thing in the background of one shot of a Star Wars movie. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. But if you're actually in there walking around,
always has to be passive, right?
Yes, true. That's
like
true.
You can only, you're an active viewer,
right?
But you're a passive participant in the experience.
Move the camera angle or anything. Like, you basically in a theme park, it's like you're making the movie yourself. You can zoom in on whatever you want to. You can change the camera.
It's about
angle.
you.
Yeah, you're inside the role of the main character.
You get to indulge the ego of the guest.
Sure, absolutely.
Or id, as the case may be.
Right.
I mean, depending on how they want to experience it.
Right. Wow. Cool. Next level.
So let's go area by area.
Sure.
For fun.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So you walk in. You go through the Rogues Gallery.
Yep.
You get your vehicle. Welcome your training to solve mysteries. You go to, let's go to Swamp World first. So you have whatever excuse that is to get to the Swamp World.
Sure.
Now there's gonna be optimistic.
Let's hear it.
There's 75 groups simultaneously going to the swamp world.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to those vehicles?
Yeah, so this is what I think would happen is the vehicles, well, first of all, to let your guests drive a car inside the park, you have to like put in some like collision prevention technology. So I think it's basically a self-driving vehicle. You just kind of, you can override it whenever you like touch the steering wheel, as long as you're not going to ram into another car or something. But you basically have the illusion of driving it, unless someone's in your blind spot. Like they're not going to let you ram into a different car. But they can override your vehicle if they need to. Like if you're about to rear end someone and you don't push on the brakes, they push on the brakes for you. So I think it's basically a self-driving car with the illusion of you're actually driving it. So let's say
a glorified monorail.
Yeah, sure. And this is the way I think that they could set up your destination. So either as you're walking through the training center, maybe there's posters on a bulletin board and it says, free event at the museum today. So that would be basically an invitation to get to the museum/college part.
World.
Or you're walking out to pick out your vehicles and there's a bunch of flyers on the ground and one of them says like estate sale in the swamplands. And so you pick that up. You know what I mean? So there's like little plants throughout like to make you interested in going to the different things. But it's like
I love that. I love the innocuous details that you get to be like, check this out.
Yeah, I want to go to this estate sale. That sounds pretty fun. Or you could just get in the car and like maybe there's a GPS and you can it'll say like, where do you want to go today? And it like tells you about the different historical monuments you could go see in town, which maybe each one of those historical monuments is located next to one of these 5 different worlds. Like the castle site isn't just a castle, maybe there's a really good root beer shack down the road from it. So you can say like, you click on your GPS and say, I want to get something to eat. And it's like, how about root beer? It's next to this castle. And you click on that and then you can go to the root beer place and then that can trigger the castle interaction. Anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
There's other ways of getting people to go to the place other than let's go to the swamps. Or maybe when you get in your mystery machine, there's like a pamphlet for like a Chinese restaurant in between the seat cushions. You pull it out. You're like, oh, Chinese sounds good. And the Chinese restaurant is next to, whatever specific location.
And you break down there.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's the thing. Is like once you're within a certain distance of the site that you're going to be visiting, the autopilot kind of kicks in. It says, oh, your vehicle's breaking down. Pull off at this exit. So you pull off at the exit. And then it automatically drives you down like this old country road and turns you into, maybe there's like a parking garage, but it's disguised to look like a forest with a bunch of little alcoves. So maybe there's a bunch of mystery machines already there because, there's 75 people in the swamps already, but there's 100 different parking spots hidden in this forest where you can't see any of the other ones. I don't know. It would.
So yeah, I mean, you need a lot of infrastructure, but that's
you definitely
we can do that,
and it might be impossible.
But I do like that idea of like the alcove. Like there's a pod where each mystery machine can break down, and you go through like the narrative explanation. You broke down here. Oh, there's like steam coming out from under the hood and stuff, and then you get to like walk through the 2 trees at the end, and then that brings you into the world. That
could work. Or maybe if you're just trying to go to an event, there's like a gala going on at this mansion. You pull into the mansion and there's valet parking, so they take your vehicle and then they bring it back to you at some point. Or
perfect.
Your car's breaking down. Hey, look, there's a mechanic right there. So you just pull into the mechanic bay, get out, go do your thing, and then they park your car somewhere. So we could, depending on how immersive we really need this to be, we could just deal with that for them. But then again, I don't think it would be a deal breaker to have a parking lot full of mystery machines.
Yeah, I like at least addressing the conceit that like we're giving you this narrative element, but once you get out, you're also walking around a world where there's just a bunch of other people.
True, and everyone's trying to solve mysteries.
Think it's
like
yeah. So I don't think it's that. I think it's nice to address it and be like, hey, we're giving you this, but at the same time, we're still an amusement park.
True, and just as far as like handling the flow, if everyone enters this castle corridor at the same time, and there's maybe 20 or 30 people in there. Maybe there's 5 different exits off of that room where you can go to other adjacent rooms. And maybe half of those don't have any actual clues, like it's a dead end, basically. But it's kind of a time suck. Like, it gets you in that room for a while enough to clear the room out. And then it's like, okay, let's move the people from chamber 3 back into the main room, and they can find the next path forward. So there are a lot of logistics to it, but I think there's kind of different routes. Like you can kind of loop people back around to the main course.